Hello, my name is Ken Spiro. I am the founder and president of SchoolSims. Delighted to welcome you to the next in our YouTube series on the power of simulations for professional development and professional learning. And in particular, I want to focus this time on unlocking growth and how simulations enhance teaching frameworks and strategic initiatives. So in terms of the power that simulations provide to any initiative that you are implementing within the district or preparing students for as they are going to embark into a career in education. And in particular, I wanted to focus on the Framework for Teaching, the FFT, by the Danielson Group, because we're delighted to announce a strategic partnership with Danielson, and we'll talk more about that. But welcome. So first, when we talk about the idea of strategic initiatives, they're often related to some kind of change, some kind of new requirement, new skills required, development or ongoing development. And so the opportunity for professional development needs to have a strong place in that process. And therefore, how do we, in fact, not just tell what the initiative is, not just tell the important elements of what it is they're going to need to change, but actually to give practice and to make it experiential and authentic and applicable. They need to be able to see what it's like in action so that it becomes more natural in terms of the implementation because it becomes more part of their practice, and do that in a safe space where they can actually, that opportunity to learn from experience means learning from mistakes, learning from failing in an implementation, but in a safe place so that we can accelerate the process by which we learn, by which we adopt, and by which we adapt in terms of the evolving environment. So when we talk about the idea of strategic initiatives, we can talk broadly, although we're going to talk about Danielson in particular, but this can be applied to licensure, where your participants are, if you have a grow your own and trying to enable teachers who are coming through alternative pathways to achieve licensure, to practice, to get a sense of what it's like to be in the classroom, but where it's safe. Or even on the leadership side, well, it's balanced leadership or other leadership initiatives that may be part of or frameworks that you're looking to implement across the district. Simulations can offer a very powerful tool because they're not designed specifically for the framework. They're designed to capture the job. And so inside of doing the job, participants get the chance to see what it's like to practice those particular skills that are reflected by the initiative. So no custom design is necessary. You can use the simulations because, again, what we simulate is time in the classroom, time in the building, time in the district, etc. And it allows us to capture the flow of time. One of the key elements in an initiative is to understand the systems component, right? The systems thinking aspect of things, because rarely is it just about the moment or just that interaction that you're having with a student, with a staff member, with a parent, with a board member. It's not just about that. It's going to be also about what happens after. And often that ripple effect can have significant consequences, and it's good to understand what may be coming as we exercise judgment in the moment. And it really provides insight into the opportunity, into what the application looks like when it's playing out in real time. So let's talk for a minute about Danielson. We are so excited to announce our partnership with the Danielson Group. Danielson, if you're not familiar with them, they're a cornerstone for teacher development and evaluation and professional learning in school districts across the country, grounded in a research-based definition of effective instruction. And they really focus on breaking things down into core components from both the development and learning standpoint, but also from an assessment standpoint, starting with planning, which leads into the learning environments that they're creating for the students to provide engaging and meaningful learning experiences, and all done in a context of professionalism and thinking beyond just the teaching, right? Because you have interactions that go beyond just the providing of instruction. And so they break it down into these 4 domains in terms of thinking about the job of teaching and how it can be looked at from a component perspective. So when we think about the application of simulation to the Danielson framework as a district is implementing the framework, right? It is aligned to the 4 domains, not necessarily a domain at a time, right? Because in the job of teaching, when teachers are engaging with students, as you can see from the framework, or if you're already familiar with it, things are happening that span all 4 domains while you're in action, right? So it's important to be able to assess the specific elements and opportunities for development, but the context in which they need to be practiced may encompass more. So it allows for real world decision making, allows for that opportunity for reflection, also collaboration, because you get a sense in the simulation, the opportunity for working with others, but also the broader aspect of having that shared experience where other participants are all going through the same experience. It builds that opportunity for collaboration, or if the simulations are being done synchronously, and it allows for, again, that shared experience and insights from a peer-to-peer basis. And it fundamentally encourages a growth mindset and continuous improvement, because you're looking at yourself reflecting on what's going on with your practice and seeing where the potential improvements may come. This is an example of one of our simulations. This is what we call our snapshot, or our one-page overview, which really provides you insight into the experience. In our simulations, participants are placed into an authentic context in which they engage in a choose-your-own-adventure type exercise where they will make 6 to 10 decisions in the flow of time in the simulated environment. In particular, this is called managing classroom disruptions, and you are a teacher who's going to have to manage a class in which you have a particular student who is disruptive, and so one needs to manage the student, but there's implications to the other students. There will be implications to the administration. There will be implications to the parents. And you're managing in this flow of time. How do you deal with these situations when some of those elements may be happening in the ripple effect, and you're going to have to navigate? And we look at these across a variety of key characters who you'll be interacting with, who are either affected by your decisions or whose decisions affect you. There's underlying trade-offs that you're considering. And most importantly, we get down to the bottom where you see the implications to the standards, right? We can look at it through CAPE and InTask, but in this context, aligned to the Danielson Framework, in which you can see that the simulation actually is challenging participants to deal with elements as they come up in alignment to all 4 domains. And so as they're practicing, they get insight into the implications of what happens from my planning, what results from effective planning in terms of and preparation. How does that affect the learning environment? How does that affect the learning experiences I'm trying to convey? And how do I maintain professionalism while I'm doing this? So when we see about the opportunity with the simulation, what it helps to build is greater self-efficacy, because we're getting teachers have the opportunity to practice, to make mistakes, to understand the implications of the potential things go wrong, and how they can course correct, which is obviously going to be important, or just have practice dealing with a bad situation. Sometimes a student is not necessarily going to respond in the way you want, and you're going to have to manage, or the parent is not going to understand your perspective, and you're going to have to be able to deal accordingly and navigate, because time continues and you're going to have to come back the next moment. It builds empathy in terms of you can put yourself into that parent. You can see maybe the parent perspective while you're playing, or the student. But in addition to the teacher simulations, we also have leadership simulations. So teachers can actually play what it's like from the leadership perspective to provide evaluation feedback that they're giving to themselves, what it's like to be from the leader perspective, to understand how it is that they're conveying the feedback, which may be sometimes hard to hear, but maybe have some empathy for what they may be thinking and what's going on for the leader, and vice versa. Leaders can also play the teacher sims to remind themselves what it was like to be in the classroom, and appreciate that sometimes you want to provide that feedback, but it needs to be how it's provided is going to be an equally compelling component of that. And build stronger instructional leadership in terms of the practice, and facilitates a faster rollout because of that opportunity to deepen the understanding and implications of the framework, allows for deeper implementation because they're practicing it real time. But it's not just teaching, right? We could have leadership initiatives that could be spanning other aspects of the change management, if you will, that's happening in a school or in a district. And so having the opportunity to utilize this modality to build that capacity for strategic decision making, again, with practice, to navigate the implications of that systems thinking aspect with the different stakeholders, with different people who are going to have different reactions, and that are not aligned, right? So the issue isn't to get it right, because it's not going to be right to everybody, and to be able to be prepared for what's coming so that you can navigate more effectively. And obviously, have the opportunity to build communication skills, whether it's in a peer-to-peer, if you're doing them synchronously, or because of the shared experience, they all have this shared language, they all have the shared experience with this scenario, with these characters, with these students, so they can be talked about, even if you're in different classrooms, and enhance the overall implementation from that standpoint, as well as well-being, connectedness, etc. So lastly, in conclusion, simulations really provide an opportunity because they're online, because they can be used synchronously and asynchronously. They can be used as part of professional development. They can be used as part of individual development. They can be used as part of one-to-ones with mentors or coaches. It allows for transformational development, which empowers growth and implementation district-wide. Um, really helps to bridge that gap, that chasm, if you will, that between theory and practice, where they can actually engage in an authentic practice and get bridge almost all the way to the end. Then it's a small hop to go from the simulation practice into real life practice, and be able to implement accordingly. Thank you for joining, and we look forward to our next in the series of our YouTube webinars. Please, if this is of interest, if you're not familiar with simulations, please feel free to reach out at schoolsims.com. Love to speak with you in more depth about the particular areas that you're focused on, and very much look forward to speaking with you soon. Have a great summer. Take care. Bye-bye.